Hey, welcome to Outsmart Your Guitar. Glad you could join us. Today in Soloing Concepts, we're going to be discussing getting bent out of shape. What do I mean? Well, we're talking about bending strings in places you may not have ever thought of, may have seen, but never quite understood how, and all of that, right? So let's just get right to it, but be sure to like and subscribe to Outsmart Your Guitar. All right, let's go. Throughout this lesson, we will be in the key of A. We'll be using the pentatonic minor scale as the framework scale, but we'll be borrowing notes from the Dorian mode and the Aeolian mode in some of the bends. Now, you don't need to know the Dorian or the Aeolian mode to do this stuff. You'll be using the notes, and if they sound good when you put them in context when you're playing over some backing track or your own stuff, then it works and it's nice. So just follow the examples as demonstrated and as written, and you'll see and be able to figure out where they're going to work as you go. Part of it's a trial and error thing, right? So, okay. The first example, A, is pretty much a typical first position bend. You're bending from the 8th fret up to the 10th fret, from G to the A, which is the root tone, right? Now, in context, for example, B shows that we're going to now move from the first position into the second position. Here, lead with your first, up to the 7th fret, from the 5th fret on the 3rd string. You're now in the second position. And here is where the bend is going to take place. It's a full step bend, so up to B from A. Like so. Context. Now, C starts out the same way into the second position, but now instead of just bending up to B, we're going to bend up a step and a half to C on the 2nd string at the 10th fret, like so. Now, in context, something like that. So what you want to do now is pause the video and play around with these ideas, put them in a context. Don't use a backing track, just play guitar all by itself so you're not distracted and tend to wander off into playing some stuff and kind of lose the point of what's going on here, right? And take advantage of this opportunity to work on your bending technique. If you're still working it out, you're sometimes a little flat, sometimes a little sharp, work out getting right on the money with your note. Remember, you're bending here, it's a step up from G to A. So target note, bend, test, bend, test, right? Same thing here, from A to B, and then from A to C, that step and a half, right? Test yourself, see how accurate you are, and improve your accuracy along the way. Bends are so used in playing lead parts, you want to really begin to get them nailed down so that you hit your target every time, right? Then, after you've done this for a little while, go ahead and press play, and we'll keep going. Example D is probably the first bend you ever learned to make. It's the first bend I teach. So you got, so you're bending from D, a full step up to E on the third string from 7 to 9, right? Target, hit, target, whoops, hit, target. See, even occasionally I make a mistake, and that's okay. That's what this is all about. Reviewing your bending technique to make sure that you're not missing something. All right, context. Right? Everybody knows that lick. Okay, so now let's look at example E. E is a little bit different because you're going to be making the bend with your first finger at the 5th fret on the 3rd string, and it's going to be a full step bend from C to D. Now you'll notice I'm pulling the string to the outside and not pushing it into the middle. I could push it to the middle, but that doesn't feel very good to me for context. That works better for me. Now, if this works better for you, go ahead. You notice I had some string noise. That's another reason I don't bend into the neck. I bend towards the outside edge. Context. For example. So pause the video, go ahead and play around with this idea, and make sure you're getting that bend right, and test your bend on the new stuff. Make sure you're hitting your target note. Always good to use the target note as your starting point and then practice the bend to make sure you're hitting it every time. All right? Then, once you've done this for a few minutes, playing around with it, go ahead and restart the video. This next example, F, we have 2 different bends going on here, and we're moving into the 2nd position as well. There you go. Now, when we reach this E, we're going to do a half step bend up to F. So, right? And then we move over to the 4th string at the 10th fret, and that's a C, and we're going to move up to 12. We're going to bend up to the note at 12, which is a D. It's a full step, and then back, staying in the 2nd position. Let's see. And you can hear that has a really different sound to it as well, and that's the whole point, right? To introduce a little bit of different sound as well as a little bit different feel by doing bends in unusual places. So what kind of context can we put this in? Okay, well, let's go with like that. Now, pause the video and practice these. Get comfortable with even just a half step bend. Very important to know how to do that. Earlier, I had you doing a bend here, right? Well, you can put a half step bend in here if you're playing in A major. right? From C to C sharp. Same idea here. With the half step bend here. You can see just by these extra examples of what's going on there and why a half step bend is an important bend to know how to use. All right, especially in blues. So again, pause the video and take your time here and get comfortable with the extra effort you're going to require on that fourth string bend. All right, then press play when you're ready to continue. For example G, we're going to stay in the first position even though it may not exactly sound like it. And that's kind of the cool part of this. All right, so we start on the fourth string in our first position, right? Now, we're on A at the 7th fret on the 4th string. We're going to bend a full step up to B at the 9th fret. Now we're going to move over to E at the 7th fret on the 5th string and bend up 1 fret, 1 half step to F. And then to the 6th string at 8, which is C, and we're going to bend up to the note at the 10th fret, which is D. And come back down. So to sound like this. All right, pause the video, practice this, and then create your own contextual lick that has these 3 bends taking place. You can even blend it with the stuff you've learned previously as well. But make sure that you are practicing hitting your target notes precisely every time. Don't shirk this responsibility to start improving, refining your bending technique in addition to learning new bends. All right, then press play when you're ready to keep going. Just a reminder, down in the description you'll see a link to patreon.com/outsmart your guitar. Go on over there, subscribe and become a patron. Join the family. You'll have access to a lot of material that's not featured here, expanded versions of some of the material that is featured here, and all written material will now be accessible to you. Sound good? All right, let's get back to the lesson. Let's move to the 3rd position. We're on the 2nd string at 13. That's a C, and we're going to bend up a full step to the note at 15, which is a D. And then we're going to come to the 12th fret on the 2nd string, which is B, half step, bend up to C. Move over to the 3rd string at 12 for a full bend from G to A. So that's a full step bend. Like so. You can let it ring out like that if you want. Context is pretty cool. For example. So pause the video and work this through. Again, nail your bends. Get your target notes understood and nail them every single time. Get that technique working for you, all right? Then, when you're ready to move forward, you know what to do. I really want you to experiment a lot with the different places where you can bend strings. They're all over the fretboard. What I've done here in these examples is just give you a kickstart in looking for those notes, because quite literally, you can bend pretty much any note, anywhere. And all you have to worry about is context, right? If it's in the right context, it's going to sound brilliant. Otherwise, it may still work. And as B.B. King said, you know, play it a second time. That way it's intentional and it's not a mistake. Okay, so the wisdom of the old guys. All right, so there you go. Enjoy this. This has been a lot of fun to put this together, and I hope you enjoy it as well. And as always, we'll see you next time.